Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Shaman decks. We'll start with Ancestral Heal. Ancestral Heal is a really great zero cost card. It'll heal a minion to full and give it taunt. Using this on high hit point minions is a great way of getting either taunt minions out on the board or healing up one of your existing minions that you want to keep alive for an additional turn or two. Totemic Might. Give your totems +2 hit points. Almost a must-have in any sort of totem-based deck. Totems can be very powerful when combined with this deck, with this card. And it's with zero cost, it's almost worth having it in any of those totem-based decks. Earthshock. Silence a minion and then deal it 1 damage. This is really useful to take out any minion that has gotten buffs that's normally a 1 hit point minion, or just any annoying minion that has an ability that you don't like. Silence is always useful to have. Fork Lightning. Deal 2 damage to 2 random enemy minions. This is very similar to a Hunter's multi-shot or a few other abilities that are similar to that. It does have Overload 2, meaning once you've casted it, you've locked 2 of your mana on the next turn, meaning you can't use those 2 mana crystals next turn. Any deck who's based on spell power, you definitely want to have 1 or 2 of these in your deck just to take out pesky annoyances. Or if you're building an Overload deck, there's a few minions that are based off Overload. Frost Shock. Deal 1 damage to an enemy character and then freeze it. Freeze is quite useful, preventing the enemy from actually attacking you for another turn, and the damage for 1 mana is not too bad. Could be a little better, but not too bad. Lightning Bolt. 3 damage and Overload 1. This is a very good spell for its mana cost. 1 to 3 ratio is really good. It does have Overload 1, so you'd want to remember that you are locking in some of your mana. But pretty good in any sort of spell-focused deck. Rockbiter Weapon. Give a friendly character +3 attack. This also affects your hero, so you can cast it on yourself. Pretty good spell to have in any Shaman deck, especially if you're going to be focusing more on a buff deck. Then it's a really good card. Dust Devil. It's a 1/3/1 with Whirlwind, or Wind Fury, sorry. Wind Fury gives the ability for the creature to attack twice. It does have Overload 2, so if you play it on the first turn, you won't be able to do anything the next turn. So you gotta be a little bit careful when you're playing this card. Because of its low hit points, it is susceptible to a lot of kill spells. So you gotta be very strategic when you play this particular card. Stormforge Axe. 2 mana for a 2/3 weapon. This is actually a pretty good weapon just because it lasts for 3 rounds and it has a decent amount of damage at 2. It does have Overload 1 again, so you have to remember that you'll be locking out 1 of your mana crystals. Wind Fury. Gives a minion Wind Fury. Pretty self-explanatory. Really great in any sort of deck where you want to focus on Wind Fury. You can make quite a good deck if you focus on Wind Fury. I've made a few of them and they seem to be somewhat successful. Flame Tongue Totem. Adjacent minions have +2 attack. Really powerful totem, especially if you know how to drop them. You can. The nice thing about minions is when you're dragging and dropping them, you can kind of place them anywhere on the board. So by dragging and dropping this right in the middle between 2 minions, you can make a very powerful 2 minions just by using that. And for its mana cost too, it's only negative as it doesn't have any attack, but you can always make up with that by having some sort of creature that buffs its attack as well. Hex. Hex, I'd say, is almost a must in any Shaman deck. You want to have at least 1 or 2 of these in your Shaman deck, mostly because you can take care of any annoying minions that are there. The only negative to it is it does give the creature taunt, so you do have to attack it first before you can attack anything else. The other thing you have to make a note is a frog is considered a beast, so against a hunter deck it does give them a beast advantage. Unbound Elemental. This is your key card to any sort of overload deck. Every single time you play an overload card, this thing is +1/+1. So you can really get this creature quite powerful if you have a lot of overload cards. Windspeaker. Windspeaker is an interesting card. It is a little bit low for its summoning. It's a 3/3 for 4. But it does give a friendly minion Wind Fury, and this is one of the only other ways you can give a creature Wind Fury. So it is a pretty decent card to have if you're basing a deck on Wind Fury. Bloodlust. Bloodlust is always good if you've gotten a number of totems out or a number of creatures out, or you're basing your deck more on like lots of creature summons. Giving all your minions +3 this turn is quite powerful. Now, it is a really expensive card with 5, so I usually recommend in most of those decks only having 1, maybe 2 if you want to really focus on the Bloodlusting. Fire Elemental. Now this is a really good card. It's a 6 for a 6/5, so it's really good for its mana cost. Its toughness is 1 low, but you know you can't get everything perfect. But its battle cry is really nice. 3 damage. You can do 3 damage to anything. An annoying minion, to the player, and for its cost, you can't really complain. And that's everything for the Shaman basic cards. I'll go over the more rare cards. Let's see here. We have Astral Spirit. Astral Spirit. You choose a minion, and when the minion is destroyed, return it back to the field. This is really great on any sort of minion that has Death Rattle, or if you want to make sure that that minion that you haven't played does not die because you need it for some sort of reason. Now, when a minion comes back into play, if it has like a battle cry, sorry, it does not use its battle cry. So you got to remember that it's not as useful on battle cry stuff. But anything that has a death rattle is really useful because those do take an effect when the creature dies a second time. Feral Spirits. Feral Spirits is an interesting card. It summons two 3 Spirit Wolves with Taunt. Meaning it gives you 2 tanks that have a decent amount of hit points and a decent amount of attack. Now the only negative to it is it does have Overload 2 on it. So you are locking in your mana next turn. But for the mana cost, it's a pretty good card to have. I'm sure there's some more, so I'm going to activate craft mode to see if I can find the ones I'm missing here. First, no. Lava Burst. 3 mana for 5 damage, and it has 2 overload. Really good damaging spell. It is a lot of damage for its low mana cost, and you can deal it to anyone. Its only negative is you do have 2 overload, so you got to remember that. Lightning Storm. Deal 2 to 3 damage to all enemy minions. There's a little bit of random factor in it, the 2 to 3, but 9 times out of 10 it will kill most of the minions that are on the board with those hit points. It does have Overload 2, so you got to be a little bit careful when casting the spell, but its low mana cost is pretty decent. I think that's all of it. That will be everything for the Shaman deck. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them and subscribe if you like what you're seeing. Thank you very much.